to make effective and part, we do have a statement that we wish to read. The public is cordially invited to attend board meetings to become better acquainted with the operation and programs of the school district. The board conducts meetings for the purpose of carrying on the official business of the school district. The meetings are not public hearings, but are meetings held in public. Public participation will be permitted only as indicated on the agenda and at the discretion of the board. In order that the board may conduct the meeting in a civil and professional manner, comments from the public should not include gossip, defamatory words, or abusive and vulgar language. The board reserves the right to terminate any presentation which does not adhere to the guidelines set forth in this policy. Orderly conduct of the meeting does not permit spontaneous discussion from the audience. All persons who wish to participate must do so through our established procedures, which is the sign up. These procedures are designed to encourage participation and to ensure that an orderly management of the meetings. The board is committed to compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act, as well as all other federal and state laws which regulate or affect board actions and policies. The chair reserves the right to limit discussion of same topic issues in an effort to provide individuals the opportunity to be heard on a variety of topics. So wanted to mention that Mr. Devine is our parliamentarian. You are allowed 3 minutes to speak. We do have an area over here that is designated for public participation. At the last 30 seconds of your comments, the parliamentarian will cue you to begin to wrap up your comments so that we can allow all of those that have signed up to speak and that we can then continue the business of the district. So on tonight as we begin, and let me also mention, you will not hear a response from the board on tonight. We will respond to you in 7 to 10 business days. Let me also mention as we begin public participation that after, I believe it's going to be about mid-April, I know that some of you have signed up about the mask policy. Dr. Witherspoon will be reviewing and will be coming forth with a recommendation by mid-April as it relates to the mask policy in the district. And again, we are asking that he continues to follow the science as well as CDC guidelines and to bring forth that recommendation to us around mid-April, sometime after our children return back from spring break. So we will begin with Blair Wessinger. You will come to the mic at this time. If I said your name correctly. Blair Wessinger.
Hello, my name is Blair Wessinger. I have 2 children that are in 4th grade and kindergarten, and I'm also a graduate of the class of 2002 at Lower Ocean High School. I would like to take this moment of your time to have y'all please consider allowing parents back into the schools. As a very involved parent and a class mom for the past 5 years, and the daughter of a retired Richland 1 employee, I have seen how much it benefits the teacher and staff to have extra set of hands when needed. Parent volunteers are needed even more now than ever. Teachers are under more stress than ever, and the help would make a world of difference. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wessinger. Mm-hmm. Next we have Allie Moon.
Hello. Of the 80 school districts in this state, only 13 are demanding our children still be masked all day. Despite what Commissioner Clyburn jokingly stated last board meeting, there are children in this district suffering because of this mandate.
Before you continue, we ask that you refrain from identifying employees and staff of the district.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Despite what a board member jokingly stated last meeting, there are children in this district suffering because of this mandate. It may not be your children or your friends' children, but your job is to protect and serve all children. And there are children whom you are failing to serve. Under your policy regarding face masks, which has not been edited since March of 2021, you stated, requests for exceptions under this policy for health or developmental conditions or religious exemptions will be considered by the superintendent or his designee, who may request documentation justifying the exception. You, the board, and superintendent have failed to provide families with a means to get exceptions. Our district, unlike other districts in the state, has not provided protocol, procedure, or forms for families that need accommodations. Families have sought exemptions in order to meet the medical and developmental needs of their children and have received crickets, literal silence. We have had to make our own forms, which were denied without explanation. We have had to beg our principals and you, Dr. Witherspoon, I can't say names, for help and guidance on what you may need in order to accommodate the children in this district with speech and developmental delays, anxiety, depression, ADHD, panic attacks, IEPs, hearing impairments, and other needs. What we have received in response is blanketed emails with a copy and paste of your policies or simply a reply as such. Good afternoon, the next board meeting is scheduled for February 22nd, 2022, end quote. A group of parents in this district spent time and energy putting together an affidavit for a request for exemption, which was turned down. So now we are gathering additional information in the hopes that it will be what you want to see. This is absurd. We need clear-cut direction from you. This should not be a game of cat and mouse. We need to know what you need to see from us. I spent 2 hours on the phone just this morning asking for a neurologist to write me a note for my daughter, knowing that you may not even look at it. Every day that passes is another day our children are not being accommodated. Mr. Devine, at last board meeting, you stated that you stated that you and the district have worked with families that need accommodations and you will continue to do so. Not my family and not some of the other families here tonight. So no, Richland One School Board, you are not.
Thank you so much for attending, Ms. Wu. I apologize, but no applause. This is not a performance. This is a meeting. Ms. Wu, thank you so very much for being here tonight. We certainly. Next person on the list is Mr. Bridgers. Ms. Mood, if you would please be so kind to be seated or we will have you removed from the meeting. We're trying to conduct this in an orderly fashion, and to all of the participants, trust me and believe me when I tell you, the board wants to hear your concerns, but we don't need a show. Come to us, express your concerns. That's why we're here, to hear you. I promise you. We're on the same side. It's for all children. I promise you. Let's work together. And the last thing I want to do is have to remove anyone from this meeting. That's not who we are as a district. Come to us with your concerns. We hear you. We're going to respond back to you in an orderly manner. Next we have Ms. Gina Bridgers.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here tonight to express my concern that parents still do not have the choice as to whether to mask our children or not. First, I would like to offer that I do not view teachers, administrators, or you, our board, as the enemy. I know you're in a tough position, and I pray for your safety and that God will give you the wisdom and grant and help your decision making. Masking should be a personal choice that a family makes in the best interest of their child. While I would like to have my 3 children unmasked and enjoying their school and their friends, I am also in favor of other parents doing what's best for their children, including continuing to wear their masks. With almost 2 years' worth of metrics, it is clear to the average American that masks and isolation cannot stop the spread of this disease, and other mitigation measures just aren't garnering meaningful results. As we look around the country and the world, we must face these realities. Masks do not prevent spread of disease. They do, however, prevent proper educational, social, and emotional development. In fact, last Friday, the CDC, which I'm sure you're aware, released 2 reports on the health and well-being of children and adolescents in which they saw a marked increase for children ages 5 through 17 related to behavioral health concerns, mental health conditions, and eating disorders, to name a few. Children are in a very low-risk category for any serious side effects from COVID. Kids all across this nation have been unmasked and in school full-time without taking the measures that we are. And further, we go to the grocery store, we go to sporting events, we go everywhere else besides school unmasked if we so choose. I think it's politics and virtue signaling at this point to still have to wear a mask in school. Currently, per the Richland 1 COVID dashboard, we have 62 students with an active infection. Out of 22,038 students, that is a 0.28% of the student population, less than 1%. DA just announced that they will no longer report daily case counts as of March 15th. However, they will continue to report hospitalizations and deaths due to COVID, which they now state are the most accurate indicators of disease severity and the impact of COVID-19. My questions for the board are these. Please outline the specific parameters as to when parents will be given the option to mask or not mask our children. Since DHEC says the hospitalizations and deaths are the most accurate indicators, I'd like to see the percentage for Richland 1 tied to this metric. Please outline the specific instructions for parents with religious and or medical objections and students with breathing problems or other...
Thank you so much, Ms. Bridges, for attending on tonight. At this time, Ms. Bridges. Next, we have Ashley Williams. I'll wait because I'm going to be respectful. Next, we have Ashley Williams. Ms. Williams.
Good evening. I'm the mother of 3 Richland 1 children and also the daughter of a former Richland 1 school teacher. My children are aged 7, 9, and 11. All 3 of my children have struggled over the past 2 years with the pandemic and mask wearing. However, my youngest daughter has suffered the most. There was a direct correlation between masks being implemented in the schools from 7:30 to 2:30 and her anxiety featuring trichotillomania, which is eyelash pulling, and her learning delays required tutoring, countless hours of vision therapy, and having to repeat a school year. Her mask exemption in affidavit form was denied, and just today she was sent home with a form to test her vision and hearing again. My oldest daughter was seen 3 times in a matter of 2 weeks earlier this year at her pediatrician's office for anxiety centered around not wanting to kill her friends by possibly exposing them to the virus. My middle child has also become apathetic concerning school, and we have seen a decline in his school grades and effort, as well as perioral and perinasal skin breakdown due to mask wearing. And I know I'm not alone and that I'm very blessed because a new CDC report shows ER visits in children have increased significantly for firearm injuries, self-harm, drug poisoning, all compared to pre-pandemic levels, including doubling for eating disorder visits. I was met with a tremendous amount of resistance when I went to the school level for pursuing mask exemptions, as well as when I went to the board level. A former FDA Commissioner, Scott Gottlieb, stated recently, the first thing we should do is try to relax the restrictions in schools. He goes on to say, we need to lean in and remove these things as circumstances improve as aggressively as we put them in place. The CDC has silently lowered the early childhood speech milestones. DHEC is closing testing sites and stopping daily case reporting. Today, the DHEC even released a statement recognizing that COVID was endemic and that we needed to move towards living with COVID with minimal disruptions to include suspending test and stay or quarantining. The city of Columbia continues to have no mask mandate. The cumulative mortality in 46 states shows children were 0 to 0.23% of all COVID deaths, and 3 states have reported 0 child deaths. And finally, some food for thought, literally and metaphorically. South Carolina received over $2 billion in the ARP for elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds. Richland 1 was awarded $78 million in local educational agencies under this plan. The Richland 1 blocked vendor transactions between 2015 and 2021 included, but were not limited to, dry cleaners, restaurants, car washes, caterers, motion picture theaters, bowling alleys, and antique shops in an excess of $332,000. And all meanwhile, 0 of these funds were allocated to improve indoor air quality for the children. Further, the South Carolina School Boards Association Conference was held this weekend with beautiful crystal clear photos of attendees enjoying.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, for attending on tonight. Next, we have Mr. Adam Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm the father of 2 AC Flora High School students. Now, I'm here today to encourage you to transition to a mask optional policy immediately, not in mid-April. I have good news to share. Vaccines are widely available in South Carolina for ages 5 and up. In the higher education world, Coastal Carolina recently dropped their mask mandate altogether. At Clemson, the vast majority of campus, including classrooms, are now mask optional. Here at USC, they've reduced their masking requirements. Their alert level is now green. It is the, quote, new normal, and they say, quote, is consistent with a shift from a pandemic to endemic operations of our campus. Locally, Heathwood Hall, Hammond, St. Joe's, Ben Lippin. One objection I've heard is that we're a large district. Good news, Fulton County, Atlanta, is now mask optional. What about other states? In Illinois, 700 of the 850 districts are mask optional. North Carolina, majority of the districts are mask optional. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy recently lifted the statewide mask mandate in schools. Same in Connecticut, Delaware, Massachusetts, Michigan, Oregon. More good news from DHEC. As was said earlier, they will stop reporting daily COVID-19 case counts. And DHEC, quote, no longer strongly recommends universal mask mandates in school, end quote. What is happening globally? The European CDC no longer recommends masks for children under the age of 12. Now, I've heard members of this board say their children feel like they're safer wearing masks. And the great aspect of a mask optional policy is that they can continue to wear those as long as they and their parents deem appropriate. I think you should be empowered to make that decision for your children, and I think I should be empowered to make that decision for my children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Again, the board will not respond. Next, we'll have David Oberly.
Hello, board. First thing I'd like to do, ask you real quick, think of something that makes you happy, whether it's your children, your spouse, whatever, just for a few seconds. Okay, I hope I put a smile on everybody's face. Okay. I wanted to talk about a couple of things tonight, and first of all, it's purchase cards. I heard some discussion about this, I believe it was last board meeting, and it really troubled me as a taxpayer. I have 2 children. I don't send them to this district. I send them to a different district for various reasons. And but I do, like I said, I pay taxes here. I've been paying taxes for 23 years in this district. So hearing the purchases that are being done with these cards and everything really troubled me. And it should trouble you, because I imagine you're all taxpayers here too. And to hear it be kind of dismissed as, well, we'll look at it for the next 12, 18 months. That didn't sound very urgent to me. $2,100 for a hotel bill? Are you kidding me? Hundreds of dollars for food on December 31st. That's a holiday. That's a New Year's Eve. A lot of stuff in schools happens on December 31st, I imagine. So yes, as a taxpayer, that really troubled me. And on the mask issue, we teach our children to think critically. Let's think critically. We have a county next door, doesn't require them. When you look at the trend graphs over this whole time, and you pick any point in time you want to do it. If you think that mask mandates are helping, you would see a difference in the graph. The patterns are virtually the same. I've done graphs for both counties and scaled them for population to make them fair. You couldn't tell which one was Lexington and which one was Richland. You could look at it and say, oh, I can tell this is definitely Richland because we have a mask mandate. You can't see that. And as someone spoke out before, for 14 years, I coordinated a program through my employer called Lunch Buddies with one of the elementary schools. I'm not for a lot of names, but it was one of the elementary schools, where we went into the schools twice a month and partnered with a child and mentored them. That was an invaluable program, I'll tell you what, that really made a lot of difference in a lot of kids' lives. So when people can't go to schools and do stuff like that, you're hurting the students that you say you're here for. So I playfully ask you to consider ending the mask mandate now. Let volunteers come to schools, let parents come to schools, and help these teachers out. Teachers are doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you. Next we have Mr. Jeff Griffin.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Griffin. I'm the dad of 3 daughters, one of whom is at AC Florida. She's a senior this year. She has dealt with masks and COVID, as all these other kids, for basically her whole high school career. I urge you to consider making the mask mandate optional. I would add my voice to what's been spoken already. I appreciate you guys listening tonight. It is important what we're saying here, and there's probably some anger, some frustration. As parents, we're feeling a little bit helpless as far as what we can do as far as sending our kids to public school in masks. Just as was spoken a second ago, there is no discernible difference between a school district that puts a mask mandate in place versus one that does not. The chart and the graphs, the COVID cases spike and then they go back down. It's universal across countries, school districts, cities, municipalities. So I urge you to now some masks will be made optional at schools. If parents want to send their kids to school with a mask, that's great and that's fine. Vaccines and therapeutics are widely available. We need to move on from the pandemic phase to the endemic phase of COVID. We're all tired of it. I know y'all are tired of it. We strongly urge you to consider lifting the mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next we have Patrick Petraeus.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, Board, Commissioners. I'm going to be the odd person out here. First, I want to start by thanking you all. The board, from board members to Dr. Witherspoon and the administrators, the teachers and staff members at schools, you have been faced with an amazing challenge over the last 2 years. 2 years ago, I came to the meeting in March of 2020 when you decided to close the schools. I'm here today again, and the world has changed a lot. But I want to offer a different perspective from many of the other people here. And that is, you have a responsibility to everyone in your schools, the health and well-being of all your students. District 1 has many students who are immunocompromised. There are many teachers who are immunocompromised. There are family members of teachers and students who are immunocompromised. We owe them, the district owes them, the chance to protect them to the greatest degree possible. The COVID pandemic is not over. There are still many kids in our schools who cannot get vaccines. There are 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds in our schools. They cannot be vaccinated. We need to protect them. This is not a simple decision, and it is not an easy decision. But I would encourage you to do exactly what you have been doing as stewards to our district and the students and families thereof. Be deliberate and listen to the experts. People here have quoted statistics, but they're wrong. I can tell you I surveyed a number of districts today. And what I can tell you is that the district here, our numbers are significantly different than other districts that do not mandate masks. In Richland 1, as of today, year to date, 2020 to 2021, our numbers are 124 positives per 1,000 students. In Horry County, that number is 199. In Clover County, that number is 214. In Oconee County, that number is 228. There is no doubt in my mind, and I could show you the evidence, and will happily provide it, that the district's numbers are significantly better than the districts around us and in the rest of the state. So I encourage you to follow the experts. The American Academy of Pediatrics still suggests that masks be universally worn in schools. The CDC still says masks should be worn in schools. Please follow the experts and not the people who don't know that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Petraeus. Next, we will have, again, we're going to ask that you, security, if you will come to the front of the auditorium, please. This is not a dog and pony show. This is a very important decision that we have to make as board members. And we need to hear from all sides. Will you please allow us to hear from all sides? Now, everyone is set patiently and quiet and listen to everyone speak, and we owe Mr. Petraeus the same respect. Again, this is a meeting for us to do the official business of the school district. And I ask you that you allow us the opportunity to do our jobs. Next, we have Ms. Regina Williams. Good evening. It's really good to be able to see the folk that I communicate with on Facebook and see all of these, all of my peers. I would like to follow Mr. Petraeus and thank you all. Thank you for keeping our children and our teachers safe. I followed what was happening in our surrounding districts. District 1 did not have to close due to a high incidence of COVID cases. We did not have to close because of a large number of teachers who were out due to COVID. And I want to thank you. Now, if I were a parent, would I feel that way? I don't know. So I have to respect what our parents are saying. But I also know that our children didn't miss school. Our children didn't miss school. Our parents were able to go to work. And I want to thank you again. And then I want to ask you, some of the money that's coming, can you please think about putting some community after school programs for the children, and then working with the people who are in the community, working with the children, so that whatever strategies they use in school, they will have the same matching strategies in the neighborhood during the tutoring of the after school programs. And the last thing, while we're talking about everything else, I want to see data of how our children are improving. They're in school now consistently. Now it's time for us to see the data of how they're growing. That's what we should be concerned with now, after 2.5 to 3 years of inconsistency. Thank you. Again, Ms. Williams, we thank you for being here on tonight. We won't respond. Lastly, we have for in-person Abby Riley.
I didn't prepare anything. I just wanted to come and show my support that I've got twin boys that are in first grade in Richland One School District. One of them seems to be doing fine with the series of online learning and things that they've gone through. The other one is absolutely not. He's not a kid that can understand those things. He's not a kid that does well, not being able to understand what people are saying. Both of my children are having some real problems with speech. They're twins. They already have their own strange language that only I can understand when they're talking about me usually. But I do know that they're getting behind farther and farther and farther. I do think masks have something to do with it. I really would like for people to consider a sooner vote than talking about it in April. It would be really wonderful to consider that in the next 10 to 15 days, as y'all had stated at the beginning, we'd be making all decisions if maybe we could encourage a sooner decision regarding optional masks. If someone wants to wear 4, wonderful for them. If that makes them feel comfortable, it'd be wonderful to be considered to not have to have our kids wear them all the time. Thank you.
Again, Ms. Wiley, thank you, and the board will not respond on tonight. We will respond to you in 7 to 10 business days. This does close out our in-person comments at this time. We will yield to our executive assistant, Ms. Wilson, who will continue our comments.
Chairwoman Harris, we have 4 virtual submissions for tonight. The first is Mr. Rich Horton. Dear Commissioners, the board should respond publicly to the public participation comments and questions presented. Responding privately via email deprives other families the answers to the questions and topics that interest them also. If responses can't be rendered in real time, the board should post its responses once it is able. Thank you. The second one is Ms. Caroline Ray. School is a place where children learn math, literature, science, social studies, and arts. We don't always consider it also a place where children become social beings. They begin reading emotions and facial expressions, responding to nonverbal cues, and developing speech and language skills. Masking out children not only impacts their learning, but most critically hinders their development. I'm here before you to simply ask that you make masking a choice for parents. Elizabeth Thabo, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Please allow parents to have mask choice. Richmond 1 is the only school district in the area to still require students to wear masks all times, even outdoors. CDC continues to relax guidelines, and all children over 5 have had the opportunity to be fully vaccinated. Thank you. The last, Melanie Trimble. I would like to thank you very much for standing strong for those of us who are immunocompromised or otherwise disabled and at much greater risk of a COVID ICU visit than others, despite being vaccinated and boosted. We take every possible precaution in our households, those of us with a child with cystic fibrosis, a sibling with heart damage, a parent with a kidney transplant, a grandparent enduring chemotherapy. We still don't eat in restaurants. We still do curbside. We still wear masks, KN95s or higher wherever we go. We aren't participating in a lot of extracurricular activities, going to concerts or festivals. The one remaining normalcy in our teenagers and children's lives is in-person schooling with masks. I know there are people who feel the masks are interfering with their child's growth. A parent or sibling's hospitalization and possible death interferes with a child's growth as well. Private schools abound and are proud to point out how well they are doing. They are free to deny interest to children with any type of disability, and I'm glad they are an option for those whose children are unhappy with cloth on their face. Please don't take away the only disability-friendly public school in-person option for our children. The siblings and children of those with severe illness have enough worry and stress. Thank you so much for maintaining this last simple precaution that seems to be safely allowing them to participate in real life. Please keep it in place for the rest of the year. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That concludes the virtual submissions, Chairwoman Harris.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Wilson, for that. And again, to all of our participants, again, we will respond to you in 7 to 10 business days. Next, we will move forward to 7, which is our consent agenda. We'll read that in.